No. Welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy second season of the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT. I am your host, Camille E. Gaines, the CEO and founder of Rig on Wheels. And of course, we got Mr. VP of recruitment over there at Mesilla Valley himself sitting here. You making this a habit? You loving Houston?
Back in Houston. I feel like a local. I have a favorite quick trip spot, and I'll keep going to Papacitos. So it's like I've lived here my whole life.
Your whole life. I mean, what keeps bringing you here? Is it the caviar they have here at the office? Is it what do they eat here?
The champagne's not what I expected. I'm very particular about my champagne being in the trucking industry, as everybody is, I'm assuming.
It might be the coffee.
It could be the coffee.
And with brisket, well, they don't have brisket here, but it's brisket.
I'll say, I've never been a big Tex-Mex guy, but Houston has some really nice Tex-Mex.
Really nice Tex-Mex. Okay. I guess that's what it is. But we are gonna be here, and we, as usual, we're still the one and only truck driver recruitment show. So that's still what we are about. But we're here to continue to bring you your industry news, truck driving tips, recruitment tips, everything. So we're still making history together. And I mean, we got so much news to go over. I mean, we still haven't won the lottery. I don't play, but I'm still expecting some good stuff to happen. What you want to start off with first?
Let's talk diesel. National average for diesel price dipped 1.3 cents to 3.75 per gallon. That's nice there. Diesel national average has decreased for the past 4 weeks, totaling 11 cents over that time. Compared to a year ago, that's 48.4 cents less than it was this time last year. As we talked about last week, a little concerned about that because the economy seems very soft right now, and so does the overall freight market at this point in time. Reporting on the freight market, load availability was up 2.5% this week, but most of the rates in the open spot market went down. Dry van went down $0.015, flatbed went down 2 cents, reefer went down 3 cents. The load to truck ratio is now higher than in 2022 and 2023 at 4-to-1, but we still need to start seeing that at 5-to-1. So as we talked about this, it's a good thing to see diesel go down. I'd get more concerned if you start seeing diesel go down 3 cents, 5 cents, 8 cents. That's an indication of some other factors in the economy at play. The expected, it's not a question of if the Federal Reserve is going to lower interest rates next month. It's more of a question of by how much.
Yeah.
Which kind of stinks because I'm in the middle of buying a house right now and I can't wait 30 days because I probably save money waiting 30 days. But most likely to lower the interest rate, which will make borrowing easier, especially if you're buying a home, which tends to get people to go to places like Lowe's and Home Depot more often. So we're going to see, as long as it goes down a penny to 2 pennies at a time, I think we're okay. But this is one of those leading indicators that if you see this drop 5, 10, 15 cents, we should be concerned about the overall freight environment.
But, even with buying a home, then you can go ahead and refinance after a few months.
You could, but you still get stuck paying on it for a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm still optimistic about the second half of the year, but there's a lot of parts of the economy right now that seem very soft. I know the jobs report wasn't what they had anticipated for the month of June, so kind of concerned about that. Going to be a lot to talk about, and as we go into the presidential election, they will generally talk about it's the economy, stupid. Like that's the saying is the economy is the one thing that impacts all of us. So I
Yeah.
suspect that if they ever do have a debate, they talk about the economy.
Yeah, I hope they have a debate for a lot of reasons. But since you brought up the presidential thing, I guess I'll go to that part of my news and then go back to my other thing. But the Teamsters, which typically stay out of the presidential stuff, they are doing something a little different, which I like. Actually, I like them kind of getting their hands dirty. But the Teamsters are deciding on whether or not they're actually going to endorse somebody. So the president of the Teamsters has already gone to the Republican convention and actually going to be the Democratic as well. So that is pretty awesome. And so they have some issues that they are wanting to bring to the table, and they're voting on within the Teamsters themselves. And so that's going to be abortion, automation, AI, climate change, fighting corporate greed, of course, immigration, inflation, cost of living, protection of union rights, quality of affordable health care, retirement, security, pensions, and the right to work. So I guess the same thing that all of us are voting on. I got this one straight away.
Yeah. So, did you say abortion in that?
Hmm.
What's that the Teamsters business?
Well, I guess okay. So when we talk about the abortion,
For you and I, absolutely, I understand us
yes,
as an individual being in that discussion. Completely understand
but
that.
I guess when it comes to the Teamsters, so you have women that are in there, but it also, when it comes to under that whole ruling, it's really just the women's health, period.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, and I kind of congratulate the Teamsters, regardless of what aisle you fall on, that they're even concerned about women's health.
Yeah.
I kind of like kudos them.
I never cooted them. I don't like the Teamsters. I think they
I
are.
know you're not a union person. I'm not a union man either. Well, woman.
They are.
I am a woman.
They are, and let me be clear. This is my official position. They are a leech on our industry.
Mm-hmm.
They are not the sole reason Yellow went out of business. There was absolutely management
Yeah,
issues.
right.
There were whole issues that probably go back 20 years
Right.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge with the Teamsters, and really, if you look at it, comes down to what we call right to work states. So, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
Indiana is a right to work state.
Mm-hmm.
Does not mean that you can't have a union. That's not what that means. Most people oversimplify it because most unions will present right to work states
Right.
as they trample on the union. Let's say that you have 100 teachers though. In a non-right to work state, you are a member of the union if you don't want to be or not. If you want to be a teacher, you have to be a member of the union. Which all that says is the teachers can still unionize, but if you don't agree, let's say that the union for you doesn't represent you, your values, and what you want from a
Mm-hmm.
job, in a right to work state, you don't have to be a part of the union. You can still be a teacher and not have to be in the union. So it's why I'm a fan of most of the time of right to work states, but the
Yeah.
Teamsters fight that hard because they want you to have to get into an occupation. You have to be a member of the union.
And I'm not a union, and I want to clarify that when I said
I never made that. Yeah, I never
Yeah.
made that assumption.
Right. When I said guy, I was just speaking universal. We have to clarify those things these days, but like, I'm not a fan of the union at all typically, but they presented Kamala with coming out to speak to them. She has not said yes or no, and I know that even though she's a Democrat, she's not very liberal, right? She's more moderate, so
Yeah.
that's probably more or less the reason why she hasn't committed.
Yeah,
Right.
probably.
To be honest with you. So we'll see with her VP pick and see how that sways her or not.
Yeah, I will say, and I'm not an expert on Tim Walsh. You were the first one to let me know about it. I hadn't heard
Yes.
about it yet. He appears to be, I want to say, center to center left. Um, the hard part when we try to paint somebody as far left as far right is it depends on which topic you're talking about.
Yeah.
And most of the people that we know in our lives are probably far right or far left on one topic. They may not identify as that party or that affiliation because of all the other topics. But I believe the stat that the Cato Institute had is that most Americans, about 70% of Americans, are one party or one topic voters. meaning that you might lean a certain way, but if the person from the other side says, I'm this, and it completely agrees with you on that one topic, your vote is willing to sway.
Yes.
It's only about 30% of Americans that really are obsessed with if there's an R or D by their name.
Yeah, I would agree with that with one topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago on this show, is I think I brought it up, is vote with your best interest.
Yeah.
Your best interest may not be the same as my best interest,
Mm-hmm.
but boy, it's going to be fun over the next 90 days. 90 days is a short period of time in real life, but and forever in our lives. But in politics, 90 days is nothing. 90 days is a flash in the bucket.
I know you can't wait to be over so I can stop sending you all of this voting stuff. You're like, oh my God, Camille.
Well, I'll vote Libertarian, which the candidate is Oliver Chase, which probably no one here even knew that fact. He ain't going to win. Let me be very clear on that fact. So the nice thing, though, of being Libertarian is when my guy doesn't win, because he's not,
As long as you know
I can complain either way.
As long as you know that you're voting for the loser.
I think he knows that.
Okay.
I think he knew that when he got into it.
Okay. I just wanted to point that out. But this is a debate that I guess people can debate this gouge going back and forth. But when I was reading this on Freightways today, this was a perception that was very strong, where it said tow truck operators and insurance debate explained. So basically, they are, everybody always talk about how the tow trucks forever gouging. They can go out and charge whatever prices, and there are some bad apples that do that. But majority of them say it's because the small owner operators are not sufficiently insured. So when they go out there, they assume that they have certain things on their insurance plan that they do not have. So then the tow truck driver is stuck with bills. So that means that they have to raise the rates, like with anything. So that means everybody is eating it.
Yeah, it is. We primarily on this show talk about Class 8 drivers and trucks, but they face the same challenges as an industry that we do. There is a lot of cost that we incur in this industry that the end consumer, be it an individual needing a truck towed or a car towed or a load moved from point A to point B, doesn't realize that we take on.
Yeah.
There's people that even in today's suppressed freight environment complain that we price gouge them. So we might make our money going into Florida, but not coming out. The people of Florida think we're price gouging them, but we really aren't. There's not that much profit margin involved there. But I do know I had a tow truck I needed on the side of the road in Deming, New Mexico. I can tell you I paid $205 to get my truck towed and sent to a Walmart. Was that a lot of money for a very short move? Absolutely. But at the time, there was 8 other people I could have went to, and they were all over $200. And I promise you, talking to the tow truck driver, they were not in cahoots. That's just the cost of doing business for them.
Yeah, it is what it is at this point. And the tow truck folks say that 40% of their business, they don't even recoup. That's a lot of money, like 40%. So when I'm listening and reading this, I'm like, I couldn't imagine sending out 40% of invoices and not getting them paid. Wow. That would be no way to be able to stay in business.
One of the things as we talk about the economy that's going to be interesting is insurance drives a lot of this.
Yeah.
There's now fewer people that offer home insurance in the states of Florida and California.
Yeah.
I know in North Texas, where I've been looking at a house, there's certain companies now that are charging a premium because a tornado recently went through.
Yeah.
Insurance runs off of math and probability and a number of other factors. In our industry, we dealt with this with the 2 catastrophic lawsuits that took place in 2018. Progressive at that time was a big player in our industry, and they no longer participate in insuring truck drivers. One of the things that's going to be interesting for all parts of the transportation industry is how much of our industry over the next 10 years will be dictated by insurance companies.
Yeah, because I feel like they run the industry already, so it's getting worse. It's closing in.
In 2019, after those catastrophic results, of the Warner Enterprises lawsuit and the small little gas company, the average rate of insurance in 2019 for a trucking company went up 83%. It's why you saw a bunch of people look at the option of becoming self-insured, which has its own landmines. My concern is both for the small owner operator with 5 or fewer trucks. It would be a tow truck driver that owns 1 tow truck. It would be a fleet owner that might have a couple trucks and 1 customer. Because it is going to get very costly to insure stuff, especially, look, you can do everything right and just the insurance companies are looking at the math and going, it's not profitable if we're going to have to deal with multi-million-dollar claims.
Yeah. And which I can understand. I mean, it's, again, is what it is. And that's the same equal, it's the cost of doing business.
Yep.
It's just what it is. So what we're going to do is go to commercial and then come back and talk to you guys again. So we'll be back in 2 and 2.
My name is Stacy Morton, and my position is OTR driver, and I've been with the company for 8 months. I enjoy being with part of the family because good miles, nice people, they listen to the drivers. The pay is excellent here at MVT. The home time is very good. You get to go home anytime you want. The dispatchers are really nice. They listen to the drivers, whatever you want. They will do their best to give you what you need. And the equipment is good, and safety is excellent. Yeah, they're fast, and the roadside is good. They listen to you, and they get the job fixed in a timely manner. Yeah, I would recommend other drivers to come to MVT because this is a good place to work, and you get excellent home time and everything that you need here.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I was talking to my recruiters trying to be in cahoots about these divisions. We're just trying to see if we can get a leg up. No. But we're back. We want to discuss some things about the leaderboard is what I want to talk about a little bit more.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So when you are, because I want to link it to the retention with everything, right? So these are benefits that majority of the carriers do not have. They don't talk about it in the same type of way, or they have driver appreciation, but it's the same week that everybody has it in September. So tell us the reasons behind why you think it's so important at MVT when it comes to everything.
Yeah, there's a few things. So we are in an industry that preaches miles equal dollars.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. That's partially true, but how a driver makes their compensation over the course of the week is a number of different ways. So one of the things that we try to look at the whole body of work for a driver so that they can be financially successful, including our top 10, 20, 30, 40%. We want those people to make more than your bottom 10%, as an example. So in our world, we have to control costs. We can control freight to a certain extent, and we have a sales team that does a really great job of finding direct customers to do business with. But once you pick up the freight, it really, in trucking, becomes about saving money. You can't do it with driver pay because your drivers need to be paid financially securely every single week, because if they're not, they're going to leave you, and that's right. Just they are the ones making the revenue come in. You want them taken care of. One of the ways that you can save money, and really the biggest way you can save money, is with fuel. Fuel is your number one expense. If you're I don't care if you're a one truck operation or you have thousands of trucks on the road, your fuel will be expensive. And so for every mile per gallon you save, it's equivalent of about $10,000 to $12,000 in savings a year.
Right.
So as an example, if you are a one truck owner operator and you slow down from 65 down to 62, you might pull one less, maybe two less loads, but you've saved yourself approximately $10,000 to $12,000. That's money that you keep in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
We take on that same challenge. And the biggest way that you save money on fuel is driver behavioral patterns. That driver is the difference maker. There's a bunch of other stuff we do. There's about 20 other things that we do in order to save fuel. Everything from the aerodynamics of the truck, fins on the back of the trailer, clean trucks, and a litany of other things. But 60 to 70% of those fuel savings will come from what the driver does in the driver's seat. And it's what we talked about of hiring a professional truck driver. That professional truck driver understands the goal is not to go like a bat out of hell down the road and fly into a DC and move on.
Right.
The goal is to safely and efficiently get from point A to point B. And if you do those things, we're going to be wildly successful. We're still going to be on time. We're going to have great customer service. And most importantly, we're going to run the truck efficiently. So in an industry that averages about 6.5 miles a gallon, we average about 9 to 9.5 miles a gallon. It's not luck that does that. At this point, there's a number of things that flow into it, but it really is the professionalism of our team on the road that does that for us. So what we end up doing is we want to reward those people. So the first thing we do is a 1 to 4 cent per mile bonus. Everything that you get above 9 miles per gallon, which we have about 56% of the fleet this quarter that will get above that 9 miles per gallon. The other part of it, how do we reward the people that go above and beyond those people? And that's why we get onto our leaderboard and understanding who's our best of the best drivers. So we have approximately this morning 1,830 drivers, 1,829 to be exact, but 1,830. So of those drivers, we have about 5 to 10 that are in a chase right now to get the best fuel economy for the quarter. And whoever gets it is going to get a brand new car when we do our quarterly driver appreciation event. It's a celebration. There's fleet managers that take pride that that driver came off their board. It's bragging rights for the driver. And most importantly, it's a brand new car. Normally a 2023 Nissan Sentra. It's a nice car, going to have less than 100, 120 miles on it. So it is a brand new car. Face value of about $23,000 to $25,000 car that is going to be in somebody's driveway because they excelled. The person that won it last month, last quarter, Anthony Rios, was at 12.6 miles a gallon. That right now is the record. We have a couple people that have already committed that they're going to hit 12.7. But you can see where you rank versus your peers. So as an example, Camille, you might be 83rd right now. But we've got plenty of time in the quarter. So you're going to work with a driver support team to basically work with you on how can you maximize your fuel economy. It may be how you drive. It may be how often you come off the road, where you plan your days, where you park, where you go. There's a lot of factors, but they're going to go down that list and also look at the computer in the truck of, hey, what are things we can do more efficiently out on the road? The drivers that win it, it's not luck. It's not that they weren't in some division versus another division. It's not that they had more experience. We had a team recently about 3 quarters ago that only had 9 months of experience in our industry that beat out the entire fleet with 12.4 miles a gallon. So it's definitely doable. And then for the whole year, let's say you don't win it, but you're missed consistency about your fuel economy over the year. 1 month, 1 quarter you're at 12, another at 11.5, another at 12.6, another at 12.4. You didn't win it. You were always in the hunt but never quite win it. But over the course of the year, you had the best fuel economy in the fleet. We're going to give you $25,000 for that. It saves us a bunch of money. You become a bit of a mentor to other drivers in the fleet that want your experience and know how did you do that, Camille. It's one of the ways that we're able to separate our drivers and thank them for what they do. And quite frankly, it's positive reinforcement. We all have jobs or have an occupation where everyone's willing to be that armchair quarterback and go, oh, you stink. You're not good at this. I don't like this. It is really important, especially in an environment where we don't get to see drivers every single day. It's not like your coworker that's sitting next to you. It's important when you get that face-to-face interaction to get positive reinforcement and letting somebody know, I appreciate what you do. Not because it's one singular week in September, but literally, I can show you the metric. You are a professional at what you do, and I want to recognize you for that.
And so my thing is MVT covers a lot of aspects when it comes to detention. It's the recognition and as far as you're acknowledging them, then the money wise for people that do it like that, and then the gift of the car. So you have that acknowledgement everywhere, social media, whatever is a big thing about it. But also, you have so many drivers or just people in general when it comes to employment, they want to be developed. So with the career services, that's what they have the ability to do is actually be developed within being a truck driver. Like how do they actually rank with among their peers?
I think part of our goal here as well is to have meaningful thank you.
Mm.
It's so commonplace that someone will say thank you to a driver because it's politically correct or because they're supposed to. If that driver goes, hey, why are you thanking me? I'd be very curious at a lot of carriers if that person really knows why they're thanking me.
Right.
Um, Look, I know where my bread is buttered. It's literally what drives revenue at a trucking company is what the drivers do on the road. You may have some accessorial products that you provide customers like warehousing and other things. But at the end of the day, what drives revenue into a company week in and week out is what the drivers are actively doing with their job. The other part of that is we like a thank you to mean something. So if we give you a plaque or an award, it's not because, hey, your job description is professional truck driver. Here's a plaque. It is because you did this. We can point to what exactly you did that was well. I think a meaningful thank you is worth more than a dozen empty thank yous.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when they actually come in, they can see themselves on the leaderboard.
They sure can. We have at every terminal.
Love it. Now tell us about the technology that's in the cab where they can actually see it.
Yeah,
that floored me when you said this last.
So our in-cab communication is pretty detailed, and it gives a lot of stuff. It has in-cab communications. It has your navigation in there and a whole bunch of other features. Anything in the company, and you won't leave orientation already knowing about all of it. It's going to take you the first 90 days to really understand all the tools that you have at your disposal. We have drivers that love getting on there in their 401k on a daily basis. I don't know that you need to check it that often, but they like that ability there. One of the things that's our most popular, and we can see what part of the tablet is being pushed most often, will be where am I on the leaderboard? Literally lower right-hand side, they hit the button, they can see where they rank versus their peers. It is competitive. Drivers get excited about it. And look, if you don't win it this quarter, you like to see yourself improve, though. So if you're 126 and all of a sudden the next month you're 81, that's something to be proud of. You are literally able to say, I'm advancing in my career. I am getting better at what I do.
And then that's engagement right there. So even though you can't look over the cubicle or go to somebody's office and things like that, like you were saying, because they don't come into a physical office every day, they basically work remote, quote unquote, right? That right there is keeping them engaged, and you're able to physically see that they are engaged.
Yeah. And look, if you're a driver, I think you're a lot like I am. I want my boss to tell me, are you happy with what I'm doing? Are you disappointed in what I'm doing? Too often as a driver, you start to feel like a piece of equipment on the road, like the same as the truck, because you don't really get any feedback. You're just told, go from point A to point B. Now I got load number 2 for you. We want that engagement. We want you to know, hey, you're doing well. Hey, you're not doing well. We've identified some areas that you can work on, and we're going to work on it together. We want that feedback the other way too, though. That's why we work with a company called Hello Retention. Is we also want that feedback, and that give and take ultimately is why we get constant awards from our customers. We just got the 5th. Ryder gave us the 5th annual Carrier of the Year award a little bit ago. Again, not luck. It's because of our drivers that we get that, and that constant feedback, both from the drivers to us and us to the driver.
That's that communication.
Yeah.
Yep. So I love it. You have the in-face communication as well as the technology.
Yep.
So that's how technology goes hand in hand with the human connection, and so that's perfect. I think that's always probably my most favorite part of the show when we talk about.
Yeah, and I think it's unique. I've worked at 6 other carriers, consulted for 30 plus other carriers, and by far our miles per gallon program, a lot of carriers have fuel efficiency programs. Ours is probably the most aggressive that I've seen, but it kind of shows up in the stats. Like I did that math just a little bit ago. If you take your average truck on a miles per gallon will save about $12,000. Let's be conservative and call it $10,000. So we get 3 miles per gallon better than everybody else. So you can multiply that by 3. Now multiply that by 1,520 trucks. That right there, we actually save a little more than that, but that right there would be $45 million right there off the bat, almost $46 million just by doing that alone.
Yeah, 45.6 mil. Yeah, that actually is my favorite app on the phone.
The calculator?
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah. That is
I have
actually
math
my favorite.
teachers in high school that would be very disappointed in me at this moment.
That's actually my favorite app on the phone. But what I want to do right now is actually go to a commercial with Carlos, very handsome truck driver, that he was the winner a while back, 4-car, and he kind of tell about his testimony with everything in his journey with MVT. So if you can roll that footage, that would be great.
Mi nombre es Carlos Vázquez, tengo trabajando 3 años aproximadamente y somos B1 y andamos en territorio de Estados Unidos. Lo que me gusta de MVT es que tiene buenos viajes, buenos camiones y muy buenas millas. Mi comunicación con el despacho es muy buena y todo eso y siempre están a la orden del día. ¿Qué pienso del equipo de los camiones? Pues que están muy bien y les dan sus mantenimientos, sus PO y todo lo demás, alineación y balanceo, todo, cambio de llantas y excelente servicio. La compañía cada trimestre regala un auto para los operadores. Me motiva pues a crecer más como persona y pues, para dar el 100, como dicen, para la compañía.
We are back, guys. We are back. Welcome back.
I tell you what, I'm going to ask you the question this time, though. We'll take other questions. Again, if you're watching this, be sure to leave your questions either in the comment section or any of the places that you have rigonwheels.com and a whole bunch of social media. But one of the questions I get asked a lot by drivers that I have trouble answering because I live in my own little glass house at MVT. You work with about 40 other carriers,
right?
Specifically for drivers, what are you seeing trend-wise that drivers can anticipate companies throwing at them to try and entice them to their company? And then vice versa, what are you seeing when you have all these drivers come to you? What are they looking for? What do you see as a common trend that they are coming to you and saying, I'm looking for A, B, and C?
I do see sign-on bonuses coming back. Your favorite thing, good old sign-on bonuses. I do see sign-on bonuses coming back, and every time I see them, I think about how much you have a love-hate relationship with sign-on bonuses. I actually like sign-on bonuses depending on how they're done, and they work for some drivers, right? It just depends on the driver, and I guess that's just for the job, right?
Let me ask, you see this, so a number of carriers that don't play in that box with sign-on bonuses, a lot of their fear is that, let's say you had a $1,000 bonus and it paid out 30 days, 60 days, and 6 months. Their fear is that you see a spike of turnover in the 6 months. I don't think they have the metrics to support that. That is their fear that a lot of executives will say. Have you seen anything to support that, or do you think it is possibly an excuse to avoid something?
Yeah, I think that's an excuse to avoid something because actually what happened is they'll leave before that.
Yeah.
They actually will leave before that, and you don't even have to pay the sign-on bonus. Sign-on bonus is supposed to be like a retention bonus, but really what it does is a marketing ploy, and it is an attraction bonus.
Yeah.
Is what it does.
So, and I think you're correct that it's how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you my anticipation, if I went and worked at XYZ Trucking and they go, we're going to give you a sign-on bonus. Let's say a $50 Walmart gift card. Great, I'm getting a sign-on bonus. My expectation is I see that in the first month. Like if I'm not getting that until like 4 years after, it's no longer a sign-on bonus. It's something else, and I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it's no longer a sign-on bonus.
I think all sign-on bonuses should be collected within the first 12 months, and that's if it's a larger amount, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a smaller amount, 2,500 or something like that, it should be done within 3 months, 6 months, spread out there. The carrier doesn't want the driver to get it and then just run, but also the carrier wants to be able to recoup a certain amount of money just in case the driver leads,
Yeah.
type of thing. But on the other side of it, we are noticing that drivers do not have as many jobs as they once had. I will say that. Are we getting drivers that still have issues, still dropping dirty on drug tests? And of course, but not as much as they used to. They're showing up for orientation much more than they used to. It seems like the drivers are more serious. The culture is starting to shift a little bit, which is good because now we're going to go into 2025. And I believe that we'll have a lot more freight. Things will go back to business as usual. Um, so I don't know if we have flushed those folk out or if the ones that would have been flipping jobs so often have stayed still.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't have the data. I'm not an analyst, but I can say just looking at our numbers, it if we have someone that is set up for orientation, more than likely they're going to orientation.
Let me ask this: if you're a carrier and you want to attract the best talent, what are the three things that you would go to? Just let's say you've never met this carrier before, don't know anything about them, but you're telling and advising them, hey, you want to attract drivers. These are the top three things that you need to be focused on.
Communication first. That to me is the biggest breakdown when it comes to the carrier is they don't know what they're really looking for. So when I'm approaching a carrier, they're approaching me about the services, they tend not to know what they're even looking for. Like literally. And I'm not talking about the mid-size or small. I'm not talking about smaller carriers. I'm not talking about carriers that have under 500 trucks. I'm talking about carriers that have over 500 trucks, right? Over 1,000 trucks. They literally don't know what they're looking for. So I'm not saying that we have to have another conversation in 2 days because something has changed on the account. I'm saying they didn't disclose something, not because of purposeful, but because they just forgot to disclose it.
Yeah.
So if you forget to disclose it, we have already been talking to drivers. By the time they then get on the phone with you, it looks like either we're lying or you're lying. And immediately then the drivers
Bad start to the relationship. Even if they recruit them, it's a bad start.
Immediately it's a bad start to the relationship. And really what it was is the carrier forgot the information or just forgot to communicate it.
So we got one is clear and concise communication
Clear
across the board.
Yeah.
What would you put as number two?
Knowing that you don't want to, with the home time, if this is your home time, let this be your home time. Don't skip around with your home time.
Consistent home time.
Consistent home time. So let me rephrase that a little bit more. So if you're an over the road carrier and your home time is 2 to 3 weeks, don't say, well, we might be able to do 1 to 2 weeks. No, if your home time is 2 to 3 weeks, let it be 2 to 3 weeks. That's where your retention issues come in.
Yeah, and I think the challenge for a lot of operations people, they want to under promise and over deliver. They're the opposite of recruiting. A lot of recruiters want to over promise and know that they're probably going to under deliver, where operators seem to be the opposite, and they want to under promise and over deliver. The problem is it goes back to your first point of communication. It makes it really hard for a driver to know what they've signed up for. And then when they actually have to tell their spouse or significant other one, I'm going to be home blank, they end up looking like they're vague because they can't provide that.
And like for me as a recruiter, I'm the opposite of that. I literally, if you say that the home time is 2 to 3 weeks, I am selling it as 3 weeks. That's what I'm selling it as, is 3 weeks. And then I ask, can the drivers, and I've even said it to you, can the drivers stay out longer than that? And you told me, well, no, we're not even set
Yeah,
up
our
like that.
operation's not set up to
And
capitalize.
right, capitalize off of that. So then that lets me know if Peter is a driver that wants to stay out 3 weeks and he sometimes want to stay out 4 weeks, then guess what? MVT is not for him. Why? Because he would not retain at MVT.
Yep.
So that wouldn't be a company he should go to. He should go to ABC company that's 3 weeks, and it's better for him to stay out 4 to 5 sometimes.
Yep.
MVT is not like that.
So we got communication, consistent schedule / home time.
Mm-hmm.
What would you put as your number 3 that any carrier, if they want to be serious about building
pay, communication with pay. These are grown men and women, and stop playing games.
Yeah.
It's paid. Things happen, but things don't happen all the time. And people should know what their pay is and be able to go off of their pay and be able to pay their bills based on what you said they're paid. Don't get threatened because you can't pay these people appropriately.
I think it becomes, and I keep going to your first point of communication.
It's communication. Everything goes back to the communication.
I think that it's one thing to list out how your pay will be consistent. So when I say you're going to make blank to blank, you know, okay, 90% of the time I'm going to be in this range. The other part of that is most companies have different ways of collecting paperwork. Some use TripPack, in-cab scanners. Other people use other like TransFlow. I think part of the orientation gets into, hey, these are the cutoff dates. This is how you get your paperwork in. This is how you get paid. I think the part of it that gets left to drivers a lot of, oh, you'll make the money, but what week it falls into really depends on our internal process, and they don't explain it thoroughly through orientation of how you get paid. And drivers are no different than any of us.
Yeah.
Unless you are wildly and independently wealthy, you have
Right.
budget set up, and you have
budget.
even if you have money in the bank, you have a budget that you know I need this coming in on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis so that I'm able to pay my bills and live comfortably. If you don't communicate, if you don't have a set home time schedule, and that pay varies wildly, that driver will not stay. Like, you might hire them, but they won't stay.
Yeah, so even when I'm talking to a carrier and we're going through the pay part, I use my favorite app, and literally I'm working out the pay as a problem in a scenario, because this is how we go over it in training with the recruiters. Because when I was on the phone as a recruiter, I literally did this when I was on the phone with Peter. So him and I can visualize, because that's how you sell the job to any driver. You want him to visualize him in this driver's seat, him bumping the dock, him doing whatever it was he was doing. He was supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
So all the way down to your other type of favorite account, the dollar stores, right? So when it came to dollar stores, of course,
let me be clear. You're being sarcastic. I do not want people to have that.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't like dollar stores. And, you know, with the dollar stores, the pay, a lot of times, you have to it's 3 and 4 different ways to calculate the pay. So as a recruiter, I would do my best to make it very simple so he did not feel that he had to be a mathematician. So I would make it him or her see themselves in this truck, backing up the truck, maneuvering the whole deal, and sending him pictures of the roll attainers, everything, and the scenario with the calculator. So he would see worst case scenario. I'm a Virgo. So if you can live with worst case scenario for the week, then when the dollar store pays you a little more, then you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the way I do it with the carrier, especially if it's an account or something that is a little bit more complicated. But that's the way you do it. So it doesn't matter what it is, because the pay is going to work for some driver. So the whole point is for you to retain that particular driver. You're not trying to get all the drivers. You're trying to get that particular driver, just like it is with the Jacksonville, Florida account, right? We're not trying to attract the drivers that are trying to make 17, 18, $1,900 a week. We're trying to attract the drivers that do not want to take the 95 corridor up to Maine doing the Georgia Pacific account. That is, so when Raven is talking to that driver, or she's texting for the Jacksonville account, she says, are you the driver that's tired of doing a 95 quarter or doing the Georgia Pacific account?
Yeah.
That is how she sells the job.
I think one of the things, and as recruiters can be a very tedious job. Same conversation over and over and over again. And when you start to go into where you're just a process recruiter, you start skipping parts.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most basic recruiting 101 questions, but probably the most important question that you'll have is, why did you quit your last job?
Yeah.
And what is it that you ultimately want to find? It seems like a really basic one, but that's the one where the driver as a recruiter is giving you the answers to the test. The driver is telling you want to share.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the ones that too often, if you find a recruiter that's actually bad at their job, you'll go and they either don't ask that question, or more importantly, they didn't listen when they asked that question.
Listen. They'll ask, but they didn't listen, or they don't understand what it is they asked because all they're doing is check mark. But the first two questions that we ask is, can you pass a drug test, a hair test going back to a specific date? And have you ever failed a drug test?
Yes.
Then we go into the other question.
Well, it's one of those, though, that as recruiters, we've talked about this, that in that very first call with a driver, the driver does 70% of the talking. The recruiter kind of guides that conversation where it's going to go. But you want the driver to talk and engage with you as a recruiter, because that driver is going to give you a lot of key information, especially if you stop talking and you just shut up and listen.
Ooh, the art of shutting up.
And it's hard because as a salesperson, you want to talk. You love having answers and being able to go, I know that. You're like the kindergartner where someone goes, well, how was your day? And you're in the back waving your hand frantically because you want to get called on. But if you can shut up and just let the driver talk, you will kind of what we've talked about before, putting the right driver in the right job, in the right company at the right time, ultimately is going to be an answer to long-term success. And it's one of the things I'm thankful for our relationship with Rig on Wheels, because you are one of the folks that when we talk to drivers that we've hired for various divisions, when we come back 90 days later, they will point out, oh, I'd still work with either my internal recruiter or I'd still work with the third party, in this case, Rig on Wheels, that brought me in the first place. And that's a testament, because you know this probably better than anybody. If you do a driver wrong, they will not come back. You don't get a second chance.
No, you don't get a second chance with a driver. That is 100% correct. So with saying that, we are going to go to commercial. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the hot jobs that we want you all to jump into.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good regional job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Welcome back. We were just talking about how Pearson was crying, so it was very emotional. He was about to start crying again.
Wasn't crying. I was leaking. We all do it.
All righty. So Vanna is going to start putting up the maps. Which one you want to put up first?
I can work with Division 300, one of my favorite divisions here. This is a classic example of what we describe as our engineered lanes. Instead of going dedicated, we prefer engineered lanes because you're not reliant solely on one customer. In this particular division, we have about 18 to 20 different customers that we do business with. So Division 300 generally is going to go ahead and run the corridor of El Paso to one of those 4 Texas-based locations. Could be Laredo, could be San Antonio, could be Houston, could be DFW. From there, it will go up to the Colorado Front Range. And then we have customers that have southbound freight, either stopping in Albuquerque or continuing on all the way to El Paso. You're out 4.5 days, very consistent home time. So you're going to take a 34-hour reset after 4.5 days of this run. It varies a little bit depending on your first load. We're currently hiring for this specifically out of El Paso, Texas, our own backyard. We have about 600 of our drivers are based out of El Paso, but we probably could use 100 more. On this particular division, we could use another 10 drivers a week probably for the next 5 weeks. We try to bring them on slowly, not all at once, because we want to make sure that we have the freight to support you. In the near future, we're going to also be opening hiring out of DFW for this as well. But this is a division that if you live in the El Paso, Las Cruces borderland area, exciting position, make approximately $84,000 a year, very consistent because of the nature of what we do with this engineered lanes. And like I said, 18 to 20 direct customers that we utilize this for all these runs. Very rarely will you ever see a broker load included in this division. A lot of drop and hook. This is also a division that does well for teams. And so we're advertising for solo drivers. But if you're a team, you can get a couple of these loops in at the same time. And our teams on this are going to be averaging anywhere between $180,000 to $200,000 a year. A lot of drop and hook, especially for the team, as we have local drivers in those areas that will do the last mile runs. So exciting division. Division 300 would be doing orientation right in your own backyard of El Paso, Texas. So exciting on that end. Next one. Division 210, this is our Southwest Regional. I like this division purely from a weather standpoint. You're not getting into the high Rocky Mountains. You get a lot of nice weather. You're never going to see a hurricane, rarely a tornado in any of these markets. Presently, we're hiring for Division 210 out of Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Antonio, and Laredo. So we have those openings in all 4 of those markets. A lot of direct customer business. About 40% of the business is going to be TJ Maxx as well as Tesla. As Tesla continues to move their operations from Northern California into the Austin area, we'll continue to do business for them out of that market. But really consistent pay, making anywhere between $1,200 to $1,400 a week. You got weekly home time, beautiful running areas, some of the most scenic areas in the country that you're ever going to see. A lot of drop and hook. And the folks here, very low turnover rate on this division. The folks that get on it, stay on it because they love the division and so excited about Division 210. Can we look at the next one? Division 400. We're looking for people based out of Memphis and or Nashville. This is one that goes to our version of the Northeast. We do not go to England. Our version of the Northeast would be going to a place like upstate New York or central Pennsylvania, and then coming back down into the Southeast, Midwest area of the country. A lot of drop and hook on this. This is about money plus a pretty cool productivity bonus. So these drivers are making about $95,000 to $100,000 a year, which if you live in Nashville, you know that you need to have a good rate of pay because your cost of living just keeps on escalating week after week. This allows you to get that high rate of play. Plus with our productivity bonus, there's additional opportunities at making money. The productivity bonus ranges anywhere between 2 to 5 cents per mile, depending on the miles ran for the week, safely and efficiently. As long as you're on time, both leaving the house as well as making it to the customer, and have no tickets or accidents, that monthly productivity bonus can mean anywhere between $5,000 to $8,000 extra per year. And last but not least, we're going to give an extra one. We normally do 3, but we're going to do Division 440. This is one that, just like we talked about with Division 430 running I-10, this is one that our drivers seem to be attracted to it specifically for the running lanes. We're actively hiring out of Memphis, Nashville, Tennessee, Houston, DFW, and San Antonio. These divisions are going to have you coming out of Houston or southern Texas, going up to the southeast, the northern part of the southeast in the Mason-Dixon line. A lot of drop and hook. You're going to chance to get through 2 of our terminals on a weekly basis, the one in Nashville as well as the one in Laredo. Great facilities, great equipment, great customers, and an expanding customer base as we speak. We've recently brought on about 5 to 6 new customers that have added freight into this area. So again, if you live out of Memphis, Nashville, Houston, DFW, San Antonio, nice job at about $1,100 to $1,300 a week. And more importantly, you're going to have very attractive running areas with this particular division. Those are the available hot jobs. As we've talked about, we have a Lowe's dedicated coming out of Columbus, Ohio. Most likely at the end of September. I'll physically be going up to the facility on Thursday. So be sure to continue to tune into the show every week, as you'll be able to learn about any dedicated opportunities that we have coming up, engineered lanes. Again, if you didn't see a state, though, or a location that you live out of, we hire out of a bunch of other locations as well. So if you live out of places like Arizona, throughout the state of Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, or even Jacksonville, we have opportunities. And then the fine folks at Rig on Wheels work with about 40 other carriers. So if there was something we said that didn't tickle your fancy or tickle your wallet, I should say, you can talk to the folks at Rig on Wheels. Kayla, can you share that number on the screen and give everybody an idea on how they can reach? I believe you have people standing by.
Yes, we have people standing by. If you're old enough to know that slogan.
Sadly, yes.
Yes. So 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100. Definitely give us a call. Raven, Nimmer, Deborah, Rachel, they're definitely sitting there waiting for you to call. They'll answer. Or you can go right to the website at rigonwheels.com. Click on driver application, complete the app, and they'll give you a call within 24 hours, most definitely.
I will say, it feels like I'm doing, when I do that, it feels like I'm doing those Time Life commercials with music. Like I have 300 songs on 100 CDs.
Oh, yeah.
Call this number. Operators are standing by.
Yeah, and then wasn't the operators, they was like on this.
Yeah,
yes,
behind them, like a telethon type thing.
Yeah, and they were like on this step.
You realize by month 3, it was always the same exact people, though, and go, okay, maybe this isn't live.
No.
As a kid, it confused me, though. I promise you. I go, wow, they got a lot of people that stand behind them all the time. Till my mother had to go, it's the same commercial.
Oh, wait a minute. I've never even thought about it like that. My whole life is a lie.
If that's what gets you, do they even do that anymore?
I hope not.
I hope not. I think CDs are kind of dead at this point, too.
Yeah. I hope
Yeah.
not. It's terrible.
I think we're probably to the point where we're ready to wrap up, though. We're sitting at 4:01 Central Time.
Yeah, we're probably ready to wrap up. We want you guys to be safe. Definitely leave us comments wherever you're watching or listening to this. Leave comments. Let us know what you think about everything, especially the tow truck thing.
Yeah.
For sure. And let us know like what you think about the Teamsters and how they ready to start endorsing the whole political thing. I kind of like it. I don't know if I like it because it's controversial or if I like it because it's.
I like it better than celebrity endorsements.
Oh,
yeah. Because I never, when someone goes Screech from Saved by the Bell is endorsing so-and-so, I think at that point, oh, okay.
So, why do I care? So
it's maybe more applicable for the Teamsters to get involved.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
We kind of, even though we're not like a union person, we think they are better than
Screech from Saved by the Bell, sure. Yeah.
I really don't care who Beyonce cares,
Never had asked myself that question.
Even though she's a Virgo, it really doesn't make a difference to me. But anyway, everybody, be safe out there on the road. It's always bad weather. We got this climate situation just happening everywhere. So just be safe, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Remember, we are season 2. So be safe, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Look at him, MVT. Bye.